Good day, lords and ladies, and welcome back to Citizen Sleeper and the conclusion of the game. I do hope you like what is coming, and we're going to dive right in without too much fanfare. Enjoy. Left to do. Is there anything back here we can do? So yeah, that's all of that as well. Nothing left there. This might be the end, folks. I think what I will do is I'm going to push forward. It may be a longer episode than normal. But let's just see how this takes us. And see where this goes. I mean, I don't have anything else I can touch. That's all done. That's building up. Yeah, well, only thing I can do is I'm going to go and explore the wastes to get a couple of bits of extra scrap. Just so that we are ready for whatever comes next. Okay. Once again, not a great hand, but it's better than nothing. I should probably feed the cat at some point. No active drives. Okay. Let's collect these. We didn't get enough to make the antitoxin, or the pills that we need. Okay. We're not in a great state. Not going to lie. I don't know what we're supposed to be doing now. I don't want to be wasting... We've already wasted stuff doing this. Are we just running down a timer? All these things are done. The only people we haven't had contact with, which I find interesting, we haven't had contact with basically like the doctor or any of the gangs or the person up here on the central axe, like on the central wheel on the hub, which is a bit surprising. I'd like to have seen how their stories have gone, but as it stands, we can't do anything else. Okay. Here we go. Peaky slate chirped in your pocket. You take it out. Message. The connection is ready. Meet me at the Founder's Gap, Greenway side. Peaky. You clench your jaws. It is time. If nothing else, we gave it our best shot, folks. Maybe we can't save everyone, maybe we can save no one, but we're going to give it our best shot. You find Peaky waiting near where you first met, at the entrance to the docking tunnel for the Founder's Ferry. They are leaning beside the wall in the flickering light, and you realise how different they look from when you first met. There is a darkness around their eyes, a sense of exhaustion to their pose, but it's also all solidarity, a sense of purpose and self-knowledge. They look concrete, for want of a better word, solid. Sleeper, they spot you and a small smile across their face. Glad you came. Wouldn't be anywhere else, you say. The smile grows. Crunch time. They shake their heads in disbelief. Let's go. They're breaking the connections up ahead. They walk away from the docking tunnel into the ragged, half-crusted corridor that descends into darkness. They poke their slate, and a torch flickers on, lighting the way ahead. As you descend through the layers of the broken edges of the eye, Peaky talks, filling the silence. I had to hunt all over this part of the eye to find the point where the connection was broken. They ran a hand along the buckled metal of the wall, stopping. So stooping under the angled ceiling, this hole, the gap, got knocked in the eye when Solheim collapsed. It's impossible to tell who did it, but my guess is they tried to scuttle the eye. If Solheim couldn't keep hold of their fancy new station, well, no one could. Peaky ducks through the fractured passageway with hanging wires like vines, so this place has always been on borrowed time. I've managed to weave together the old connections and run a new patch down to where the main line still runs through the remaining ribs of the rim. They smile, just like keeping those old XPR platforms running. Essie would be proud if she bothered to help. As Peaky goes quiet, the corridor opens out into a wide, twisting passageway with compartments on either side thick with wiring. Here is the connection point. You can see where Peaky has levelled off a panel and hooked up a thick cable of the existing hardware. As thick as a tree trunk, it snakes off into the darkness ahead, its yellow rings making it look like some huge exotic serpent. You did all of this? Peaky nods. It was an interesting challenge, plus it helped me keep my mind off things. Peaky smiles a weak smile. There's a lot I prefer not to think about. You both stand there staring at the point where the new cable meets the old. The ends separate, fitted with multi-pin male and female connections, braced inside a metal framework with scissor mechanisms, bringing them together. Seal them, and the greenware will be connected to the rest of the eye for the first time in decades. Peaky sifts their weight onto one hip, pushing their hair out their eyes. I feel like this should be more momentous, like these should be more ritual or ceremony. They pause, or someone should stop us from doing these crazy things. Just do it, you say. Peaky nods, pulling off the plaster, right? Okay. They hold both sides of the supporting framework, ready to scissor it closed. Here we go. Peaky wrenches the framework closed, and the connection funks together with a sound that echoes down the ruined corridor, into the dark on both sides. Both you and Peaky waited with bated breath, unsure of what you're waiting for. Do you expect the eye to suddenly stop spinning, or to lurch on its axis, for the power to go out, or a shockwave to run through the corridors of the rim? You meet Peaky's eyes, and suddenly they burst out laughing. What are we waiting for? They put a hand on their forehead. I feel like we just planted a tree and expecting it to burst out of the ground. They shake their head. But you feel it flowing like a stream that has been released from a cave and rushed out into the sunlight, crystalline and clear. You swear you can hear it running in the wires like water, like rain, like steam. It doesn't roar or rattle, but it rustles and rises there like liquid roots. Peaky sees the look in your eyes and stops laughing. You can see it, can't you? He asks. You can't see it, not with your eyes at least, but it's everywhere, and now it's out. It can't be put back in. That much is clear. You imagine the rim of the eye like a sponge, like soil, soaking up the gardener and their chorus, the gaps filling with bulbing, constant growing life. Peaky stares at you, waiting for something, anything. Gardener is free. Peaky nods slowly, closing their eyes. They go to speak, but the words fail them. Suddenly, Peaky's slate chirps. They jump and scramble for it, almost dropping it in the process. But when they stare at it, a look of confusion crosses their face. What happened? Peaky's mouth falls open. It's Essie. They swallow. She's leaving. They look at you with panic. Before you can speak, they turn away and are moving back up the passageway, back towards the entrance. Peaky, you shout after them. They don't turn, they don't respond, and you watch their silhouette, lit by the slate's torch, disappear rapidly around the corner. You take out the slate Peaky gave you and turn on the torch. The wires all around look like pale roots in the harsh light, and you turn away from them. They are gardeners now. You walk your way back through the corridors, retracing your steps. You imagine Peaky panicking, running towards the cordon, realizing that their greatest fear has come to pass. You wonder if they will be able to persuade Essie to stay. If Essie is going, you think, then the flotilla must be leaving too. The thought makes you shiver in the darkness, and you push it away. You are not ready. You focus on avoiding the hanging wires, the low ceilings, and make your way back into the lit corridors of the Founder's Ferry dock. Caster is waiting for you. He holds up a hand. Now, sleeper, no need to fear. He raises his eyebrows. I understand now it was my mistake to try to force you, a miscalculation. Stay silent. I won't hold you here, sleeper, but I wish to speak. You listen. You stop, giving Caster his opportunity. Caster nods. At first I thought that, if you'll excuse the term of phrase, taking possession of your particular talents was an opportunity. He smiles a broad smile. But you are more than that, and I understand that now. Your arrival on this station, your ability to touch the networks, this makes you very definition of a wild card. He touches the rim of his glasses. Senate stats analysis, my analysis. We could never have accounted for you. This system, the Helion system, is about to experience a significant change, about to open up to Senate stats, bailiffs, Conway's claimants, and every industry and element an active CAN channel brings. Yet this very cycle you let another wildcard free, Gardner. I have to admit, this development makes me afraid, Sleeper. It makes me afraid what an intelligence like this will sacrifice to protect itself, what atrocities it might commit through madness, and yet, Caster's eyes glint, what a compelling object such an intelligence is. Let me protect you, mark you out, keep Senate Stat from eliminating by force or legal experience you as I will with every other squatter on this ring. Caster clasps their hands together. In exchange, when Senate Stat comes for this place, you will facilitate the handover. You claim you calm the protocols. You give us Gardner. Never, you say. Caster takes off the glasses and polishes them. Disappointing, he begins to leave. As you approach, he speaks quietly, an urgent whisper. I do not wish to see you lost. You are of great value. If you ever want to see that realized, you push past, ignoring him, and his voice fades. The last you see of him is a slow nod, perhaps a mark of resignation, or just another deferential gesture aimed at manipulating your response. It doesn't matter either way. You are done with him. You head towards the cordon. Peaky and the flotilla is in the forefront of your mind. Oh boy. You arrive in the chaos at the cordon. The final shuttles are leaving the ramshackle docks that have formed along the edge of the gap during the flotilla's stay, and as they do, groups of evacuees push on board, hoping to be amongst the final people to escape from the Eye. The fear created by the Flux event became a series of rumours, and those rumours have driven many out of their homes. Others have staunchly doubled down on their position on the Eye, refusing to accept any gossip of the second collapse. You're unsure of what to think. Is the collapse certain? Will Peaky's actions this cycle have changed anything at all? You are tired of these questions and instead set out to look for your friends. You quickly spot Peaky and Essie at the far side of the chaotic bay. You quickly make your way through the crowd, slipping between the gaps in the rushing evacuees, stepping over bags and luggage. The process is slow, but you approach, you can hear their voices over the crowd. You try to push closer, but there are many evacuees gathering around them and they're subtle. You have made your decision, Peaky, and it puts you against me, says Essie. Essie is standing with one foot on the boarding ramp, while Peaky argues with her. The evacuees eyeing them, eager to intervene but intimidated by Essie's evident strength and attitude. Essie, it doesn't have to be like this. Peaky looks desperate, tears tracks already on his cheeks. We can find a way. Essie shakes his head. I have always protected you, Peaky. I have taken you under my wing. But I understand that you are not mine to control, and you have chosen to be here and not with me, despite everything. I have chosen to stop running, Peaky cries out in frustration. You can choose to stop running too. You can stay here and try to live. Don't you remember what it feels like to live, Essie? Essie turns away. I remember what it was like to live on Hawthorne. What it was like to be worried for your safety every second. To live under the control of my mother, of the administration. To work to maintain something that no one wanted, no one needed, so that our corporation could maintain a foothold in the system. You talk as if this place is the very same system, any different. What is there here but the same grind for other masters, for employers, administrators, for those who gain from our struggles? There may not be a corporate controlling the eye, but there is control, there is power in action here. So what then? Peaky shouts. You run from everyone and everyone who could ever be close to you, in search for freedom, in search of the same perfect place where no one has power over you. Peaky is crying openly now. I want to be part of something, Essie, even if it's broken and suffering, even if it cannot be free. Essie pauses and takes a deep breath. She nods, her eyes closed. This isn't Hawthorne anymore. We aren't tied to our childhood or by our sad need to escape. We are both just people in this system. She opens her eyes. I release you, Peaky. You are free of me. Essie, please. They hold out a hand. There is a life here if you want it. Essie turns and smiles at Peaky, her eyes wet now. Then you live it for me, Peaky. I can't. She clambers up the rolling ramp, the evacuees taking their chance to clamber on board too. You watch as the shuttle closes its ramp, lifts off and leaves the bay. The crowds are dispersing now, and they get onto the shuttle and say their goodbyes, and move back into the main part of the cordon. You push past the last of them to reach Peaky. Peaky doesn't turn as you come close. Sleeper, Essie's gone. She chose to leave, you say. Peaky nods. I've known her my whole life. They wipe their face. But since we arrived, we've been going different directions. They turn to face you. I'll miss the Burr, but she'll serve Essie well, I know that. Sleeper, the shout takes you by surprise. As you turn, you see Sol coming across the bay towards you, 2 loading shuttles loaded up behind him. He reaches you, his suit hissing as he does. Can't believe you will make an old man run across this bay to get you. The singers have gone. They left at the start of the cycle. They broke away from the flotilla. You smile as you think of Talar, safely cradled within one of the sleeper singer's ships, on their way to Starward Belt, and hopefully a reunion with her brother. Godspeed, Talar. What are you smiling at? Sol interrupts your thoughts. They forced our hand. We have to leave now. Sol shakes his head. If we follow close enough behind, maybe they'll end up being our scouts anyway. I reckon any hostile spaces out here will give them a wide berth. Pilgrim Seed will need a little time to make our way out the cordon, but I'm heading back now to get that started. Thankfully, the step ships are sticking with us, so we'll be plenty well supplied for the journey to Belt. He pauses. Anyway, I don't plod all the way over here to tell you that. Sol looks between you and Peaky, and with a raised eye. It's now or never, Sleeper. I'm good to my word, and I keep my word, and I kept a berth for you. But this is your last chance to take it. He scratches his head. Make a call. You glance out of the flotilla beyond the bay, beautiful in the light of Helion's sun. You think of the long journey to the Starward Belt, of the people inside the Pilgrim Seed and the possible future that awaits. Then you think of the people here on the Eye, of Pekka beside you, of the Bentayang and of Tala, and the key that still hangs around your neck of promises and possibilities. This is the thing. Since we started this, it's ever been about our own destiny of basically what we wanted to do, and not about basically following the paths of others. And we made a promise to Tala, and we have a life here. Maybe it changed, maybe we'll get run down by the corporation the next day, who knows. But this is our choice. You open your mouth to speak and realise this is the final time you make this choice. You have to be sure. I'm staying. You say the words, and the moment you do, the weight of it all seems to descend on you. You stumble a little and stand straight, refusing to be crushed. You feel a tightness in your chest, a haze blurring your thoughts. Sol nods. Good luck, he sighs. You'll need it. He grips your shoulder and meets your eye. In the haze, his pitted and rough hand feels so real, so detailed that it grounds you. And then he's gone, and Sol goes with it, quickly moving to the waiting shuttle. As he does, you watch, unable to speak, your whole body pulsing. And then another hand falls on your shoulder, and it grounds you once more. You turn to see Peaky's bright eyes. Let's go, Sleeper. You nod, and seeing how unsteady you are on your feet, Peaky puts an arm around you and steers you towards the entrance to the bay. As you do, you hear the roar, feel the wind as the shuttle lifts off and angles towards the flotilla. You don't turn, instead you keep your head down, focusing on each step. As you do, You feel Peaky beside you, holding a little of your weight, and you holding a little of theirs. This is how it will be many cycles after you both leave the bay and head back into the eye. You will both hold things for each other, remind each other of the choices you've made, remind each other why it is important to keep going despite the moments when it seems impossible. You will keep each other going. That support will be vital when the second flux event hits the eye, when it knocks the entire free spoke off the power grid, making the whole station lurch with a sticking motion, when it cripples systems and corrupts processes, leading sections of the station to go dark or start venting oxygen, when holding on is all you can do while the world seems to come apart around you. And yet somehow the eye will persist. The systems will resist total collapse in ways that will seem inexplicable to many. But to you and Peaky, they will signal the awakening of a new force within the station. That new force will bring with it new challenges and new possibilities in equal measure. Strange growths will be reported all around the station in the wake of the flux event. Fungal crusts pulsing through pipes and wiring. The eye will go wild from Fursund, becoming a station of increasing unpredictability, prone to seasonal rhythms of spore clouds and sudden growth spurts. There will be strange and unsettling beauty to this paradigm shift, and the greening of the station turns it from a corporate ruin to some altogether new assemblage of biological and mechanical structure. I love this image here. Rico will take on this challenge of energy which seems impossible for her age, and until her final days she will delight in the new mysteries of the eye and its garden produces. And as this new era consolidates around the station, you find yourself in the Betanyang most cycles, working to keep the place alive. The cycle where you invite Emphis to come make use of the kitchen will go from cycle where you invite Emphis, who is basically the guy who made her soup in the beginning, mushroom soup, to come make use of the kitchen will go from a one-off event to a regular occurrence, and soon the Betanyang will be filled with spacers eager to try the best preparations of the station now abundant with mushrooms. And on occasion, after a long shift at the Betanyang, you will hear the sound of the stray meowing, and will crumble some food and sit and watch the cat eat as if it's the only thing in your world that matters. However, into all this newness, a bad old ways still intrude. Senate Stat, frustrated by the eye's resilience, will begin to send more physical threats, and supply ships and traders will suddenly stop arriving, stopped by a blockade of corporate militia. Life on the eye will be punctuated by wide channel broadcasts from Senate Stat, stating legal precedents and quoting deeds of ownership, staking a claim on the system. Meanwhile, Havenage hardliners will fizzle out, losing their grip on the Havenage Council. In the wake, Helena will spearhead a series of reforms that will scale back Havenage's overreach, returning them to the caretaker role they were always intended to fulfill. As the cycles roll on and the threats gather, news broadcasts will join them, sent by Conway Extraction, making counterclaims of assets within the Helion system, and many of the Eye will grow quiet, losing their appetite for debating these political machinations as they tilt inexorably towards corporate war. And ever on the Eye will spin, growing now in the strange ways, haunted by strange new growths and hosting cultures increasing resilience. As the Helion system descends into crisis, you find comfort in the fungal patterns, the familiar conversations of the spices and the smells that will accumulate around you as your body continues to its unavoidable decay. They settle around you like a veil, and in time it will be impossible to see the eye without seeing its many variants and visions, past and potential futures, and this masking of the world will mark your approaching end. And one cycle far from now, that accumulation of memories, tastes of people and places and moments will be the last thing you let go of. But for now, there is only you and Peaky, arms around each other, walking slowly out of the bay, two figures born of crippled systems, linked together continually despite your origins. And in this frozen moment, you focus on only on the next step, because that is the only way you have learnt to persist. And to persist is to believe that a future, any future at all, is possible. And that is the end of Citizen Sleeper, folks. That was the last piece of DLC. That is the last tale in our chapter. The last chapter of our tale, I should say. I really love this game. It has one or two little flaws, and I wish some of the older characters from some of the earlier events had come back. But it is a masterful bit of storytelling. Truly masterful. And I like how our story ended. I think it really did fit with our character. That he made his own decisions, that he wasn't pushed along by other people, he wasn't running anymore. I liked how the story ended. And I hope you did as well. I wonder if there will be anything hidden at the end. Let's press continue. No, that is the end. And thank you all for joining me. Please like and subscribe, it helps me a lot. And I shall see you all again next time and on next whatever series we do next. Goodbye, folks.